What is going on? The non-Wednesday random live stream. What's going on, Al? How are you doing there, fine sir? I was actually just did a little mini Instagram stream as I was rinsing some sand for the tank, and a couple people were like trying to bribe me to do a YouTube live stream, so I figured, what the heck? Might as well. So, random Wednesday, Monday, time warp live stream. How's everybody doing tonight? So far we got L. It's outside the normal time. We'll see if anyone joins. ReefDudes, did you go to Reefapalooza? I did not go to the one in California, but I did go to the one in Orlando. So I went to the one earlier this spring. So I have went to one Reefapalooza this year. How's it going there, Casey? Anyone wants to join the Hangouts, feel free to click that link above and you should be able to hop in and join the live video chat. Did you go to Reefapalooza? If you did, how was it? I am curious. California's not too far away, so maybe next year I'll try and make it out to one of those. What's going on, Braveheart Reefer? Welcome. Why so sad? What are all these tears? So, as you may have guessed by my lovely background, I was literally just sitting outside washing 40 pounds of sand. So, I got one bucket down, and I got one more bucket to go. I will in 26 minutes. All right. If I last that long, we'll see. So we had rinsing sand. If you guys are using live sand, obviously not a good idea. If you are using dry sand, or if you're using old sand, you want to make sure you wash that really well. For this stuff, normally I just put it in a bucket and put a hose all the way in the bottom and let the water percolate up for it. One of my buddies, Richard, he was actually recommending to do it in a pillowcase. So I kind of combined the two ideas and then put it all into a bucket. And then within a pillowcase, so the pillowcase made it easy to take it out. And I can let it dry and then it's still in a nice container. First time I've caught it live. What's going on, SC Reefer? This is because this is a completely random one today. What's going on, SC? If you want to watch my Reefapalooza edits, I will check it out later there, Casey. If anyone wants to join the random live stream, hop on. So, speaking of other fun randomness, I don't know if any guys are on my Instagram, but I just painted this lovely creation, which apparently is half transparent from the reflections in the room, but I think it will look pretty good. Look at that, see-through. It's pretty fancy. Transparent CO2 tank. Light is there. You got a buzz sound. I have a very shoddy wire on my mic, so that may be related. Let me turn it up a bit. Okay, hopefully you're good now. What brand is that? Brand of what? What do you think about play sand from Lowe's or Home Depot? So if you're using play sand, some of it has silicates in it, which could lead to certain algae in your tank later on. What's going on, Richard from Reefs? So some of the play sand can give you silicates, which can give you that lovely brown stuff in your tank, which not everyone wants. Honestly, I would just spend the extra little bit and buy proper reef sand. Richard, we were just talking about you. As you can see in the background, buddy, I'm rinsing some sand, and I decided to combine your pillowcase idea with my bucket idea, and it seems to be working quite well. Off on time for a live video. That's because this is like my completely random Monday night stream. Live stream fix. Boom, hangout links. If anyone wants to join, hop on. It is Monday, I know. It's like messing with the wobbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Time warp. But overall, yeah, I don't know. Just slowly punking away, prepping out stuff for the new tank. Painted the CO2 tank the other day. I think it looks pretty sexy and white. A bunch of people are asking if you are allowed to paint them. I had the exact same question, and this rule may be different depending where you are. At least where I am, I literally asked them the day I filled it up. I was like, do you guys care if I paint this or anything around it? They're like, yeah, I don't see why anyone would care. So I painted it. And I think it looks awesome. And it's transparent. Woo-hoo. Rick Borden just subscribed. Rick, if you're in the chat, welcome. Nasty Nemo DY. What is going on, guys? So lots of sand. When you first start rinsing, it is super duper cloudy. It was probably a good solid 20 minutes at least of doing it. Macla in Florida, yes or no? Yes. I am going to the Disney Macna, which will be awesome. 150 here and working. Whew. Late in the morning. Richard, you can just like drive over there. You don't have to go far. Lucky guy. Yes, I will definitely be going to next year's. I think it's going to be awesome. And you get to go to Disney World. It's pretty much win-win. It's a pretty easy sell for the wife and family, too. Pro tip to anyone out there thinking about it. Should be good. Anyone has any random reefing questions? Shoot, have at her today. There's actually zero topic. This was literally just me streaming because a couple of people were bribing me on Instagram to hop on for a few. So I said, why not? As exciting as it was rinsing sand, staring at the bucket for a while, I put silica sand or a mixture of laterite clay silica sand for seagrass below argonite sand in a remote deep sand bed. Use Topic Eden everything for the display though. Did you have any issues with that? Did you have any silicates or algae or brown stuff in there? Just kind of curious. I've heard mixed reviews on the play sand. So I'm going to say do so at your own risk. It's not really that much for reef sand, so honestly I'd probably just buy that unless you're doing some crazy massive area. What's going on, Marco? Welcome. Ask all the YouTubers want to get together. I'm always down for get together. So if you want to meet up at it, that'd be awesome. What do you think of the Polyp Lab 1? Polyp Lab what? Which Polyp Lab product are we talking about? Speaking of Polyp Lab, I have not tried this yet, but I'm curious. I got some of this Polyp Lab Polyp Booster. So I'm really curious to try this. It's been sitting on my shelf staring at me for a few days, so I might have to try that out tonight. We'll fly for 5 nights and then home. Are you going to Disney World for a few days? If so, heck yeah. I definitely am. I'm probably going to stay an extra couple days and go to Disney afterwards. Get together at Disney World. Heck yeah, I'm in. The question is, do we do it before or after MACNA? Later, Richard. So, if you have kids, they're likely starting school the week after MACNA, which may or may not mean Disneyland's crazy busy before and is dead after MACNA. I don't know. I'm kind of debating which way, if you had tack on a few days before or after that. Yeah, we're definitely going to do a get-together. That'll be awesome. Later, Richard. No problems are apparent to me. Okay, that's awesome. See, there you go. So their play sand, perfectly fine for you. So completely hit or miss. What's going on, Dells Reef? Welcome, welcome. If you can get the wife to come, just say Disneyland. Say, baby, Disney World. Pretty easy sell. Before, during, and after. Definitely. What is your bioload? What do you use for filtration, marine pure, biobricks? Okay, so my current tank, I do have marine pure in there. I have a big assortment of everything from the balls to some plates to the big thicker ones. What's going on, ReefDudes? So I do have a big mix of different filtration in there. Most of it, honestly, is the rock, but all that biometer is a ton of extra stuff in it. All-in-one calcium, magnesium, KH. I think it's Brightwell, I believe, has one that's kind of a blended dosing solution. I've been meaning to talk to them about it. I was supposed to do it at MACNA, but I don't think I actually found them to the guy I was looking for to hunt down and have that conversation. So I may have to get him on a stream one day. Haven't tried it, can't speak for it yet, but supposedly they somehow dose semi-equally without all in one without having to worry about precipitates and everything else. So, good question. How the heck are you, Reef G's? Or all-in-one, calcium reactor. That's another option. I used to use one, going back to one. More or less just for that stability. Made it to another live stream, K&A Reefing. What is up? So do Red Sea. Red Sea what? Tank, salt, dosing? What are you after? They make beautiful tanks. For the actual dosing side, I am using the Red Sea Foundations ABC on my tank on the Nano right now, and it's growing very well, so it's doing pretty happy. Good to hear, Reef G's. Good to hear. Made it to another stream. All right. Hello, Dev. Everyone in the chat. What is going on, Reef Keeper? How are you doing tonight? So I have 1 bucket of sand washed. I still have to wash 1 more before it gets dark. So we'll see. Sun's slowly going down out here. Apparently it's dark for everyone on the East Coast already. So West Coast, we got a little last few hours of sunshine. What's the correlation between keeping nitrates high enough to make the corals happy, yet low enough not to induce algae? Or is there no correlation? Okay. If your nutrients, aka nitrate, phosphate, and some other random stuff, were not really considering at the moment are too low, yes, it does starve algae, but yes, it can also starve your corals. If you look at some of the stuff like the zeolite tanks where you get that very light pastel colors, that's actually because your corals are stressed. I find a little bit higher nutrients actually gets a little more deeper, richer colors in your corals. So I personally don't really worry about it too much. I watched a couple of the BRS videos lately with worldwide corals. And in theirs, they were saying, I think they kept their nitrates around 20 and phosphates less than 1. That's pretty much all I shoot for. And look, they got amazing, super bright, colorful, crazy corals. So I honestly don't really worry about it too much. Mine have always been in that 15 to 25 range for nitrates. Everything's happy. Phosphates, I would agree. Mine are usually like 0.3 to 0.6, somewhere in that range. And no big issues there. If you do want to do like a higher light tank, you also need higher nutrients, right? So if you have lower light, you can get away with lower. So it depends, right? If you're giving your corals more growth energy, you also need to give them food energy to go along with it. So it's kind of a balancing to keep everything working out. So actually, okay, so just looked at the bag. It was pool filter silica sugar grain sand. Yeah, you don't want anything with silica. Silica on reef tanks is not good. You're just asking for algae. So you decided on a calcium reactor. Why, yes, I did. And why, yes, Kimura pump is going to make it amazing. I have not decided on push or pull yet, though. That was an interesting video that Randy did on it, on pulling it. So there is some justification there. Although on the flip side, if you are taking your lower acidic solution through the pump all the time, it's likely going to be harder on the tubing and everything else in it. I don't know if that's even an issue, but another consideration. So I haven't decided on push or pull, but yeah, definitely will have a calcium reactor. Any way we can see the tank? Is that for the new tank? Yes, it is. Do I have any pictures of the tank? I actually started a build thread on that. Let me quickly find it. I did throw a couple pictures on there. I'm assuming, I don't know if you're wanting the new tank or the current tank, but let me... not my video. Hey baby, I'm live. Wanna come say hi? No? Alright. Let me quickly see if I can pull up a couple photos of the current new tank. Thanks. Doo-doo-doo. My dog's in here squeaking, of course. He likes to do that on mon streams. So current tank. Most of you guys know what the current tank looks like. And the new tank is pretty much built. Concept Aquariums in Calgary is doing it. They built my current tank and did an awesome job. One really cool thing I'm doing is on the ends of the peninsula, I did 45 bevel edges. I think that's going to look sweet. So there's the actual tank itself. Got the nice little corners. So the glass part itself is built, just waiting for the subs. Hey, baby. Special appearance from Lily. Tank. The Man Mellow, welcome. Thanks, bump the nitrates to 5 ppm. Even 5 ppm is fine. Brown algae bloomed, wasn't sure if there's a correlation. Okay, Michael, do you have a refugium or anything in your tank? As long as you have something sucking up the excess nutrients, like I've also seen people that had rocks full of hair algae and they tested 0 nutrients, but it's because that algae was sucking it all up. Also, one thing too, if you have your lights on too many hours of the day, that could be feeding it as well, right? So there's a couple of different things that can relate. Say hi to your wife. I say hi. They say hi, babes. She says hi. Hi to whoever that didn't want to say hi to us. She poked in and waved. She likes to hide on the side and just throw paper airplanes at me and stuff. Lilo Cow, cheers from Brazil. Cheers back from Canada. What's going on, Ash? What's going on, Michael? Boop. Reef Loco. What's going on, guys? Phosphates are barely visible. Honestly, your tank sounds like it's pretty good. It could be lights on too much. It could just been like a little mini spike. I mean, depending if it's just on the sand bed, even just a couple of sand sifters may be enough to clean it up. Yeah, okay, so 10 hours isn't bad. If you have 10 hours with a ramp up and down, like if it's, say, 7, 8 hours full and 2 hours ramp, that should be okay. Now, it also does partially affect how much light you're putting at your tank. If you're having crazy high light for 10 hours straight, that could be too much. So one thing most people don't consider is you could have lower light for a longer time or higher light for a shorter time and still get the same amount of light energy. I am going to dig into this probably fairly soon in a future video. It's a new tank. Okay. If you have a brand new tank, then it is likely just you're going through diatoms or one of those new tank things. But I did get something really amazing lately. So I finally got a proper real par meter, which has a sweet transparent globe. Yeah, green screen. So super stoked for this. This is going to let me do some really cool videos and dig deeper into a lot of different lighting topics. Just check this baby out. We got a wonderful, amazing apogee parameter. Super duper stoked for this thing. I played with a little bit so far on my tank, but I'm going to dig a lot more into lighting and kind of different things on it. So it's going to be a pretty sweet tool, so I'm really excited to get more advanced stuff. So if you guys have any lighting specific things you want me to dig into, let me know. If not, I got a couple things in store. I'm working on a potential little collaboration to dig in a bit more. Perhaps my sponge colonies is the right word for large grouping of sponges or taking up silicates before the algae can get it. Sponges are amazing to have in a tank. It also does something that shows that your tank is aged and more mature, and they are an awesome sign. So they could potentially definitely be helping. I have no idea if they're related to silicates at all, though. Change my substrate and rock stripe. Currently cycling. Nice. I've been on the fence if I should leave my rocks or change it. I've been back and forth. Part of me wants to get new rocks, new scape, and the other half is like, I love the way it looks now. It's a trade-off. So I think I might, if I don't go to new rocks, keep my island on the left and then change the right section. So we'll see on that one. All right, K&A reefing. I have a question. I can't get my elk to stay stable. It went up from 1.7 from when I tested last week. I'm dosing Kalk in my ATO. All other levels are pretty stable. So if your alkalinity is raising and all you're dosing is Kalkwasser, you may just be dosing too much physically. If your calcium's staying the same, though, that one's a little bit questioning. You could, just try mixing a little bit less. Calc is the easy solution. Another thing to check is your magnesium. Usually, if one of your levels are out of whack, there's a good chance your magnesium's out of whack. Magnesium is kind of like the reef keeper of the chemicals. So if you keep your magnesium, I like to keep it around, I think they say 1250 to 1480, whatever. I keep mine around 1350, 1400. That's where I like keeping mine. And as long as, if that's too low, it's going to mess with your balance of calcium alkalinity. So check what your magnesium is. Make sure that's in check first. At least 1280 or higher. 1280 to 1400 type of thing. Somewhere in that range should be fine. But definitely check magnesium first. I don't think Kalkwasser necessarily doses magnesium. It might. I don't know. I haven't used it. I only use it for a very short period, so. But yeah, less Kalkwasser, or pickling limes. A lot of people use it. Mrs. Wages pickling limes when I see a lot. How much Kalkwasser are you adding per ATO batch? The other thing is too, if you guys are dosing Kalk, make sure your pump is above it. You don't want to be dosing the slurry into your tank. You just want more just the fresh water. 100% get your mag right, others will fall in place. Yep, that is some solid advice right there. It doesn't what? Another little lesson is don't get lazy on testing your tank. I have my automated alkalinity testing, which is amazing now. Okay, yeah, it doesn't. It only does the calcium alkalinity. Yep. So I have a very strong suspicion that it is missing out on magnesium. Thinking of Carib Sea Shapes rock for my 120 build. If I do my new rocks, the Carib Sea Shapes is high up my contender list. I have that in the nano and love it. It's an awesome rock. It looks super natural. I still have a few chunks left in my shed, so that might even get it turned to the new shape. I blocked on my iReef channel. What? What do you mean you're blocked on there? That's no fun. How'd that happen? What's going on, iReef Radio? Johnson Chow, welcome. Some Kalkwassers have magnesium in them, but only if it's been added on purpose. I think BRS product does that, most don't. Okay, good to know. I didn't think it had it in it, so perfect. So it's likely the culprit right there. Easier than two-part. If you have a low demand, Kalkwasser is honestly probably the easiest way to start out. I tried doing it mixed with the calcium reactor at one point, but I tried doing Kalkwasser on its own, but I was dosing more than I was evaporating. So I just kind of quit doing it because I had a swap anyways. But yeah, it is pretty easy to do if you just mix your ATO whenever you do it once a week, or depends on how big your ATO is. 3 teaspoons for 5 gallon. My mag is 1290 and calcium is 390. Okay, so both of those levels, in my opinion, could be a little bit higher. You're technically still okay, but you're on the low end of magnesium calcium. I find the shape rocks sometimes crazy glue gets peeled off with the shapes color lanyard. I used I used D&D aquascaping putty on mine to kind of glue the little chunks together. Someone blocked you. Alright, Reef, I'll take a look later and see. I haven't actually looked at who's on the naughty list in a while. I will unblock you and take a look later if I see you in there. One thing I find with shape rocks, crazy glue. Yeah. What's my mag? I actually just tested my tank like a week ago. Let's see. Alright, so I last tested on the 11th and my magnesium. Hopefully I tested it. It was 1300, so that's what mine was. Which is a pretty good place to be. I usually like to keep it a little bit higher than that, but 1300 last I did it. Melvin's Aquatic Empire. Welcome, Melvin. Welcome to the stream. As for alkalinity, let's see what that's at. Alkatronic. Focustronic. So one cool thing with the Alkatronic is I can go on the website and check it there as well. I was bugging Mark from Milo's Reef the other day because he always has his test Saturday, so I posted a screenshot of my automated tester. It's like, does this count? Yeah, so my magnesium, or my alkalinity is a little on the high side. It's been slowly creeping up a smidge. I've been trying to lower it a little bit, but looks like I'll have to take another mill or a couple mils off my doser to level that back out. So slowly creeping up. Red planet, purple bonsai on the same frag rack. Bonsai is dying, but the other planet is doing great. Now, red planet likes a lot of light. Purple bonsai generally likes a bit of lower light, so you very well may just be feeding it too much light. I would try moving that one down a bit lower or a little further if you could. Magnesium barely moves. You have to dose a lot of magnesium for it to actually do it. And when I dose magnesium, like I'll dump in like a liter at a time type of thing. Nasty Nemo, hit that thumbs up. Always appreciate it, man. If you enjoy the random stream, smash that like button. With my tank was fish only live rock, transitioning to a mixed reef. Right now it is cycling. How long after introducing the fish back should I put corals? You could add corals before you add fish, to be honest. Corals, most corals, at least like SPS, maybe a little more questionable, but like LPS, softies, they don't care for the most part. As long as you don't have like crazy toxic levels, I bet you can add them right now. SPS is better to hold out longer if they are a little more sensitive, right? At the end of the day, it comes down to stability of like your magnesium, alkalinity is the biggest one, right? You just want to keep things consistent, stable, one of the biggest things. Do Duncans take up a lot of magnesium or bromine? I have no idea. I do have Duncans, do love them. They're actually probably up there on my favorite softie list, awesome corals. However, what exactly they take up is a good question. I do feed them. You do want to feed Duncans. They will be much happier and grow more heads if you feed them. Feed my mysis. They get probably a couple times a week. I just shoot some mysis into its mouth. Usually you have to corral off the shrimp, though. They try and steal food. Oh, magnesium is barely used in your tank. Yeah, okay. That's okay. Magnesium is one of those things that will last a long time and also will drop. I've been slowly trying to figure out how much I can dose daily to sustain it there so I don't have to add a big lump sum every month or so, but slow process figuring it out. Hey ReefDudes, I have a question. Can I add an EB8 to an Apex Junior? Yes, I believe you can. I think the only limitation on the Apex Junior is the number of modules. I don't know if it was 8 modules possibly. Let me just quickly Google that. I haven't actually used an Apex, but from my understanding that was the only limitation. Apex Junior. Apex Junior limit modules. So it says you can have an AB8, FMM, FM4. But yeah, it was something to do with the number of modules that it could have. Okay, there's a limit of 7 Aqua Plus modules. The display does not count against the limit. Okay, so you can have 7 modules, whatever you want. So you should be safe there, Jay's Reef. What's your favorite coral in your tank? My favorite SPS would be Milliporas. I really like my Palmer's Blue. Mr. Anthony Fish Tank Ninja, welcome buddy, welcome. The softy side, Duncan's is actually up there. I like the Fathead Dendros, Acans, I don't know. It's hard to pick, to be honest. Need to learn how to work your Apex. Well, if you got any Apex questions, shoot. Should I get an Ecotech MP40 or AI Nero 5? That is a tough one, Victor. Okay. I will have a Nero 5 soon, so I will definitely do a good review once I actually get it. A Nero's kind of it's a cool pump in a way. Like, so, 2 advantages. And they're kind of different companies, right? So it's hard to compare them directly. But if you look at the MP10, I think it's 1,500 gallons per hour, I think. And I think the MP40 is 4,000, 3,500, something like that. And the Nero kind of falls right in the middle of the two. So it's kind of like in between. It's like the middle of the pumps. So it kind of really depends on your tank, but it is super cool and it's super low profile. And when I've actually seen them in a tank, like on a black wall, you don't even notice them. They just disappear. So they're actually really cool. I kind of want to throw in my Nano, so I may have one in there pretty quick. Thanks for answering my question. Follow up. I have a calcium reactor ready, but I've never used it. Should I use 2-part until I have consumption going, or could I get it from day 1? You could get your calcium reactor going right now. All you got to do is just run less flow through it. Yeah, so Victor, honestly, probably in the next couple of weeks, I'll have a video out on the Nero 5. But once I get it, and I usually play with it for a few weeks, make sure I have a good understanding before I actually put a video on it. 4,500 plus for the MP40. Thanks, Greg Carroll. Much appreciated. Okay. So there you go. So I think it was 1,500-ish for the MP10, 4,500 MP40, and the Nero 5. So it's 3,000 or a little over 3,000 gallons per hour. So right smack dab in the middle of them all. Turn my skimmer and return off for 30 on feed mode. Oh, super easy. So in your Apex, you literally just go into your feed mode code button, or into the skimmer and say if feed mode A equals on, then off. Delay 30, then on, I believe. Something along those lines. I can take a quick peek for you. Let me log into mine. Don't dose for 3 days, see what it drops. And then need to bring your levels up to 2-part. Do you notice the green propellers when they're spinning? Not overly, to be honest. I was looking at a couple different tanks with them, and you hardly even notice it. Like if it's on a black wall, it's very subtle. I was actually kind of amazed at how much it disappeared into the background. What is my Apex login? Yeah, so when you're setting up Title Guardians, what's going on, Than? Welcome to the random live stream. Okay, so alright, so you guys were asking about the Apex question. So if I look at the back, basically just use your feed mode. So if feed 00, so feed A, then off. So if I hit the feed A button, do it right away, turn off. And then how long does it wait till turn on? That's this line right here. So for you to keep, you said you wanted your skimmer off and your pump off. So you literally need these 2 lines. So 30, so if feed A, then off. Defer 30 minutes, then on. Literally 2 lines right there. That's all you got to do. Put that code and whatever you want turned off during feed mode, and you're good to go. So super easy fix. What's going on, guys? I'm going to drop the Hangouts link again if anyone wants to join me. Leaf Loco suggests raising the normal parameters with 2-part before doing the test. Okay, if you are running a calcium reactor, you don't want to use the calcium reactor to make adjustments. You want it to sustain that level. So use 2-part, get it to exactly where it needs to be, and then from there, the calcium reactor will maintain it. So you want people to join? Yeah, hop on. There is 0 topic to this. I was literally doing a quick Instagram stream, and a couple people were like, do a YouTube stream. So I was like, what the heck? So there's no topic. This is just free for all. Hang out, answer some questions. And yeah, so there you go. Those 2 lines, all you need and you're ready to roll. And when you are in your Apex, you can just hit your feed cycle A, and it'll kick it off. I know some of you guys are commenting about the alkalinity monitor. So that's obviously a little on the high side, so I got to drop my dosing a bit. But Kind of cool with the BNC port. You can link it up to a controller and test every 12 hours. So quick, easy way to check and see where your alkalinity is at, which is going to make tuning a calcium reactor very easy. I don't have any corals yet. Looking forward to get the cycle finished. Yeah, feel free to just add. I mean, as long as you're over the ammonia nitrite stage, a little bit of nitrates won't really hurt most soft corals, so you can add them before fish. I've done it for pretty quick actually on many tanks and never had an issue. And also depends how you're cycling a tank. A lot of the bacteria ways of cycling can get it done pretty darn quick. And what else? Do you still use the Red Sea Coral Colors program? I was using it on the large reef. I'm not at the moment. I was actually going to think about using it again on the small reef. I just haven't got around to it yet. I honestly got to put on a doser, so it just happens automatically rather than me trying to do it. Okay, would you suggest trying to get the CO2 regulator right where you need it if the pH controller is only triggered once or twice per day? Once or twice per day is actually really good. In the past, if you always have a pH probe in there. So eventually every solenoid, it will still last years, right? But there's a certain life to that solenoid clicking back and forth, hundreds of thousands or whatever it is. So personally, I always like to tweak it so that the solenoid hardly ever switches, right? So the pH probe is literally acting as a backup rather than controlling it. Kind of personal preference, but everything I always try and have multiple layers of redundancy. And to me, that's another step of doing it, right? If you're never not switching it very often, it's going to have a much longer life. Best of luck with the cycle additions. I wouldn't put a calcium reactor online until you have something uptake in it first. Yeah. So if you test your tank on like a Sunday, wait a week, test it again, and there's no real change, it's probably not a big deal. Once it's growing in your tank, even coralline algae is going to take up a little bit. So it's kind of a bit of a waste till you get some stuff, but once you start putting coral in and you start seeing a bit of a drop, then yeah, by all means, I put it online. I mean, you could get it on now and just get water running through it and not really put much CO2 into it and just leave that off for now and just get it pre-plumbed or prepped. Not a big deal. Do you recommend lights on or off during a cycle? I would leave the lights off when you're cycling your tank, because if there's nothing in there, you're likely just going to grow algae. So yeah, definitely leave your lights off until your tank's going. If you don't have any coral, you don't need lights. Even if you have fish, they'll be fine with ambient room light to start out. But definitely, if you do have your lights on, keep them very low. But all you're going to do is promote algae until that tank's cycled and established. So no rush there. So you have a pH controller and your plan is to have a solenoid. Yep, solenoid is good to go. Did I miss anything? Everything, Casey. Missed it all, ma'am. Do I have it in here? No, I don't. So welcome back. So like a solo stream today. No one wants to join in the hangouts. So sad. What else you guys got for random questions? It's kind of good because normally when I'm on a stream on a topic, I don't always get to them if they're completely unrelated. So it's kind of nice to answer whatever random ones come at me. One of my new shirt designs. My lovely wife illustrated this one for me. Well, what do we have here? I'm totally geeking out on the reefing shirts lately. It's fun. Definitely standard setup for good reason. I think the only improvement would be carbon doser right regulator, but there certainly aren't necessary. Do any of you guys have a carbon doser? They look nice, but they are expensive. I splurged more on the, whatchamacallit, the Kimura, the feed pump, which is show up eventually, to feed it at a consistent rate. I think that has a lot more value than the carbon doser. Carbon doser would be nice. I've never tried it, but as long as you can get a pretty stable bubble rate. The only time when I feel it would really make a bigger difference is when a CO2 tank gets lower on air, the pressure will change, and that could mess with your bubble rate. So at the very end of life, at the end of life of your CO2 tank, it might actually save you or come in then. I actually been meaning to, not thrilled with the carbon doser. Okay, see, that's good advice right there, Thom. That you probably just saved me $300. The one I used in the past is a Milwaukee. What is it? I'm gonna grab it. Give me 1 sec. I don't remember what brand it is. Do you plan on running a parasol pump like the Kimura or Master Flex for your reactor? Yes, I do. I'm going to go with the Kimura pump this time. It seems like the Master Flex is like ridiculously expensive. The Kimura is actually pretty reasonable when you look at the price of those crazy expensive medical ones. So, I used to use the Milwaukee regulator. Awful customer support. That's for the carbon doser, I'm guessing. So this is the current one. This little guy is a Pinpoint Marine one. And the one thing that I liked about it is it uses a DC solenoid. Some of the AC ones, I have heard rumors where they can get stuck on, and apparently it's not an issue with the DC ones. That and it's super compact, so. So this guy, with my current stand, it was kind of pushing it. So this guy's like, bloop, super tiny. That will sit on there. And yeah, I should feed it. So I think that's going to work pretty well. What is showing up at my house tomorrow? I'm so happy it will be there finally. Nice. I sometimes continue to admire it from afar. 300 plus is too much regular for me. Too bad about the customer support. Okay, so I've heard mixed opinions. So Than hasn't been thrilled. I know Jeff, Daily Reefing, he absolutely loves his. So I know he had one die on him too, so that could be part of it. So I've heard two different sides of the fence. Even though his died, he still was bought another one. But yes, 300 is definitely up there. This guy was like 140, I think, and so far it's been pretty solid. Customer service is number one. That's very true. Even looking at reactors, right? There's like 8 bazillion different things. At the end of the day, it's a tube with a pump on it. So a lot of things are simple, very similar. Usually a lot of them, it's like, you know, better build quality, a few little features. But yeah, customer service does go a long way. Milwaukee dual stage. That's the one that I used to use there. Giganticus Reef. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Yeah, Master Flex are only really feasible if you buy them used, which comes to those. Even used though, they're like $500-600 on eBay. They are crazy expensive. So for $250 or whatever it is for the Kimura one, it's actually not bad considered like $400 or $500 used for a Master Flex in those. So as long as it's actually quiet, I think it'll be a pretty awesome way to control a calcium reactor. So, question for some of you guys that have a calcium reactor: push or pull through it? What do you guys think? I've always pushed in the past and never thought about pulling. I watched Ryan's video on it the other day. And then my one hesitation is there any issues with like the more acidic water and stuff? Is it any harder on pulling it through the tubing, the parasolic tubing, everything else? Does it make a difference? Not a clue. That's my own one kind of hesitation with pulling it rather than pushing it through. Tidal Gardens has excellent support. I believe it. Dan is an awesome guy. And if you guys don't watch his live streams, you should. You can learn a lot about corals just by doing it. He makes me jealous all the time just seeing all that eye candy. Hi. As he slowly creeps in. Come here. Hi. This is my dog. This is Orion. He makes random appearances in videos. Don't hit the farm meter, buddy. Come here. Come here, buddy. Want to say hi? So that is my dog Orion, for anyone doesn't know his name. Any merch coming? Kind of merch. All I got is t-shirts, just because I enjoy them for myself, because they're fun. Yeah, so that's my dog. He's a Brittany Spaniel. His name is Orion. He's far too smart for his own good. He has learned to open doors. So if he wants in and you're in the bed, he's like, whack, 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 opens the door, walks in. And even one time we were up there, and because he can push the doors, he hasn't quite figured out the pulling yet. But there was like smoke from the oven. He like runs in, runs around us. He's like, poke, 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 let's go. And then he ran out and ran outside onto the sun deck. I'm like, what the heck? He's let himself out. So far too smart for his own good. I can't do that with my cats, but they go really poorly. Yeah, cats are actually, My parents' cat is like a cuddle bug. Most cats would like claw you to death if you try and like pick them up and do that. But yeah, theirs is like super docile. Kind of amazes me. All right. No one's joining me in the Hangouts today. I'm throwing the link out there one more time just in case. One person joined and left right away. Thoughts on vacuuming your sand bed? Well, speaking of sand, I just spent half an hour washing it. I like to vacuum it once in a while. Especially if you have a super deep sand bed, don't touch it. If you have a thinner one, I think there's benefit to give it a bit of vacuum once in a while. More for me, if I see it dirty along the edge of the glass, that's kind of like, okay, I'll do a quick little cleaning for it. Just get all the junk out of it because I like it to look pristine. But yeah, super deep ones, if it's over a couple inches, just leave it alone. Stuff can build up in there. But yeah, a little one. The other thing is if you do vacuuming, don't vacuum it all at once. Pick like a little section of it, maybe like 20%. Don't do more than that at a time. Because you can start a mini cycle if you mix and do too much. Got the buns. I'm going to join soon. Casey Reefers got some buns. Did Piper end up roaring for the food after you turned off the stream? Sounds good, K-Town. Sounds good. Well, I don't think I'm going to... It's getting dark out, so I don't think I'm going to get to washing that second bag of sand. So that's on tomorrow's list now. Almost home. Perfect. Shouldn't be low enough to acidity to affect the pump tubing, plus it should stop it from precipitating. So you think it's better to pull it through, right? What do you think, Than? Push or pull on a calcium reactor? Think there's a big enough advantages of one or the other, or do you think it's kind of a wash between the two? Hamburger buns, homie. You guys are making me hungry. We made this terrible mistake of buying a box of Halloween candy, so I've been slowly munching on those. Vacuum my shallow sand bed on display. If my cucumber is hitting it all, usually does an amazing job. I vacuum the top detritus weekly and deep sand bed just to extend its life cycle. Are you rinsing live sand? No, that is dry sand. That is the Carib Sea stuff. Push on the reactor. Okay, I've only ever pushed, so I've never tried pulling. Yes, that was a little clip I just pulled out of my little Instagram stream through in the background. So if the dry sand, usually when you put dry sand into your tank, it's going to be very cloudy for a couple days. If you give it a really good rinsing first, that goes a long way into not having your tank cloudy for days and days and days. So I took this, literally what I do, I take a bucket, and this time I actually used a pillowcase inside of the bucket. I dumped all my sand to it, push a hose all the way to the bottom and turn it up high, and it'll just keep percolating up, and all the little particles will float to the top and overflow to the bucket. It takes about half an hour, but that got my 40 pounds of sand to be pretty much darn clear. If you shake it around, you get a little bit of cloudy, but you do that a few times, and eventually be crystal clear. Now I had it in a pillowcase, because now I can just throw it on the step and let it just dry out over the next couple days. Now, what is the grain size? It is... Good question. It is a larger size that still looks like sand. I don't like it too coarse. I really appreciate the stuff that actually looks sandy. Carib Sea sand. Let me actually just look it up on their site and see what it says. It was a 40-pound bag. Argamax, maybe? Is that the one I bought? Nope. I can go grab a handful and show you, but it's fairly small. It's big for sand, but it's small enough that it still looks like sand. Do not push using a Perry pump. Always pull. Huh. Good to know. Is that just because of a potential building of pressure in the canister? Did you plan on running a magnet through my sand? I did not. I don't really think I'd worry about that. I've never had an issue. I don't know. It's from Carib Sea. They're usually pretty good brands, so I don't think I'd worry about it. But you piqued my interest a little bit. Makes sense. I vacuumed about 30% of it weekly because I noticed an algae bloom starting today. Today, I noticed someone changed the direction of my closed blinds and sunlight hit it. I honestly don't think sunlight makes that big of a difference. I mean, if it's in sand all day, every day, plus your lights, could be. But I get maybe like an hour of sunlight on my tank, and it never seems to make a difference. Can you hook a calcium reactor to a manifold? Yes, you can. That's how I used to run mine. I ran that way for a year. The only small potential issue is if you have reactors, you have all this other stuff on your manifold. and the flow starts to change, the reactor gets clogged, it's going to affect the rate of water, the bubbles, or the drip rate coming out. So it can mess with it a little bit. Using a peri pump or a peristaltic pump is just going to keep it consistent. So it's the exact same flow, does make a difference of your reactors. That's kind of the reason to do it. You don't need one, but it will make tuning it and give you a bit better consistency with it. Screwed up my bed. Yeah, for if you're vacuumed or you notice some allergy and stuff, likely you just caused a mini cycle. If you stir up too much stuff in your sand bed, it'll probably start itself off as long as it's not too crazy. I am going to be using a peristaltic pump, yes. In the past, I just used whatever pump off a manifold. But yeah, peri pump I'm going to do on the new one. The coolest thing is because you can say, okay, I want 15 mils a minute, go. I want 20 mils a minute. You're like, oh, I need a little more flow. Bloop, bloop, done. Like super duper easy. So I'm kind of excited to try it. It's going to be like next level calcium reactor. Found a snail in your sand bed? Did you get your sand off the beach, or did it come from like an actual pet store? That's crazy, you found a nail in it. Yikes. Last time I rinsed all my sand out, and then it was in the middle of summer, but I laid it on a sheet of plastic and just let it all bake in the sun and dry out, and there's nothing in it, but very noticeable difference in the flow output. There are ways to make it more stable, but they will vary even with a needle valve. Yeah, so even like if calcium or stuff builds up on your needle valve, that can affect it. That's why I just kind of think using the peri pump is going to be a sweet way to do it. Be super consistent. Yeah, whole deal is have an affordable, continuous peri pump. I think it's going to be a game changer for doing a calcium reactor. Like, it's just going to be so stable. But we'll see. I'll let you guys know in probably a month when I have it set up and rolling. Maybe sooner. So people pull with Masterflex and peri pumps. It's incredibly stable. They had continuous duty, though, so they can be a bit pricey. 500-ish Masterflex. Yeah, 250 for the Kimura is the best one I've seen so far. Now, I was playing with it at MACNA, at the Coral View booth, and it actually seemed pretty darn quiet. Now, mind you, you're also in a convention room with thousands of people, but it did seem pretty darn quiet. So as long as it's actually quiet when I'm running it, I think I'll love it. So we'll see. From a shop, had a dark patch in the sand, in the tank, moved it and found a rusty nail. That sucks. Always run a peri pump with my calcium reactor. Really the best way for accurate flow rate. Awesome. So Clayton, do you push or pull with yours? Do you pull with as well? Because I honestly would have just pushed until I watched Randy's video on pulling it through it, so. But that is definitely good to know. I might even try pulling just because I've never done it. That's half my reason for the stuff in this hobby. Oh, I haven't tried that yet. Sure, why not? Let's give it a go. See what happens. So what do you guys think? Should I keep the current scape or should I change it? Part of me just wants to pick it up and go move it over. The other half of me is like, brand new scape would be really fun. Do a mix, do part old, part new. It's probably my backup plan is going to keep my one arch and then do a second one or something else smaller. But always kind of conflicted because it kind of starts to lose all that live rock that's been aged for a couple years. Plus size, get rid of a little bit of bubble algae. Oh, I have a question for you guys. Has anyone used fluconazole or fluconazole on bubble algae? I know it gets rid of baropsis. There is a product called Reef HD where I was reading a bunch of posts on it and people were doing 4 times the dose and they said it killed their bubble algae. Now, the Reef HD is basically fluconazole or fluconazole. I don't even know how to say it properly. So I'm debating trying. I don't know if there's any negative effects. I've never used it. I know people that use the normal dose seem to have 0 issues. So I'm toying with the idea of trying that on my tank before I do the move to hopefully eradicate any of the bubble algae in there. So it's a good question. If anyone used it on their tank, I want to experience. Clayton, use a high-end Masterflex with brushless drive. Not cheap? No, it isn't. And yes, it is on pull. Okay. I've seen the lines pop off with pressure. Okay, so you've seen lines pop up with the pressure buildup when pushing or from pulling? Never run a calcium reactor. So question, if you're using a peri pump, do you control the fluent with the pump or do you leave it wide open? No, your peri pump is how you control your fluent rate. I found pennies worth of metal in a 20-pound bag out 5 years ago. Crazy. You guys are going to make me check it now. Ran through a magnet since the magnetic metal. Don't want to think about now, man. Try Vibrant. Vibrant does work. I use Vibrant to get rid of the bubble algae in my nano reef, and it worked very well. It took about 6 weeks until it finally got rid of it. So it definitely worked. I could do that in my big tank, but 6 weeks is a while because I know I might be upgrading sooner. Ah, thank you. So Vibrant definitely does work. I'm just curious about the fluconase because I know it potentially is way faster. Yeah, it is. Special gift of chips. Okay, so Kayvon, you've used Flucom. Didn't really touch the bubble algae. How much did you dose is the question. From everyone I read, the one guy said he did a 2 times dose, didn't do much. And then a week or 2 later, he said he did a 3 or 4 times dose. And they said that actually made a big difference. What's the most money you spent on a frag? 120 bucks. It was probably the most expensive one I think I bought. And it was a decent sized one. It wasn't like a dinky one. Like it was a couple of branches and a bit bigger. I wouldn't call it a colony. It'd be a large frag, I guess. When pushing, and that's why pulling's better. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So pulling, you wouldn't really have a chance of a blockage and blowing a line. That makes sense. Perry controls the input and output by pressure. If you pull, same thing backwards. As the intake is the water, the output is controlled by the Perry pulling out. Yes, that makes sense. What's going on, tag mates? Yeah, keeping the reactor clean. You'd probably definitely want to suck. Actually, I got another good question for you guys. How many of you guys use filter rollers? So my other big thing I want to try on the new tank, I have socks now. I do not change them nearly enough. They're always overflowing by the time I change them. And so yeah, so this time I'm going to try a filter roller. I think it's going to be a cool way to go. I'm still debating if I run all my water through the filter roller or only part of it through the filter roller, right? I question a little bit, can your water be too clean, right? That's another really good question. That could be a whole live stream just on that. So you did a 2 times dose, killed the hair algae. Hair was what I had with, so I've never upped the dosage. Okay, fair. Deep my rabbitfish in the display tank. Quarantine annihilated. Yes, rabbitfish are awesome at eating it. So you never used it for that. So I don't know. If there's no one's had any negative effects of using it, then I'm tempted to try the 4 times dose. I just want to make sure there's no issues or risks to the fish or coral. Yeah, copper bands. CP is copper band. Copper band butterfly fish. Those guys they'll eat it. They love the bubbles. Or the hair. Oh, so Derek has got a message from me. He's another local reefer. He ordered a new tank as well, and his tank is arriving tomorrow. Nice. I might have to go check out his tank. He got a tank from Concept, the same person that's building my tank, so that'll be kind of exciting. What to do with filter rollers after they're done washable? You possibly could wash it. I'm sure most people probably just buy a new roll. This could be a pain in the butt to wash and re-roll it. So probably just replace it, put a new roll, roll of fleece on it. The big question is, how long is it really going to last? I think the more you use it, the longer your rolls will last, right? Because the more you get the stuff out of the water. So on my tank, I have the main drain, which is a full siphon, and my secondary drain, which is like the trickle kind of overflow. So I'm kind of torn. Do I put on my main drain so it filters like 80% of the water, or I put it on my little trickle drain so it just gets all the extra stuff? Or do I do a bypass and put, like half through it or something? So I don't know. Do you guys think a tank can be too clean? Yeah, okay. So most people are saying pulling doesn't have the issue of a reactor potentially clogging. So it does seem like a good way to go. All right, I guess I'm pulling. There you go. Solved one issue tonight. Hopefully my crunching isn't too loud. Getting 6 weeks now. Nice. Which filter roller do you have, Nasty Nemo? I was actually talking with another buddy of trying to do a way of making one that was reusable. We were brainstorming a few ideas that might work. The only problem was trying to figure out if we could make it self-cleaning somehow. But got a couple ideas. Large shell, 4 to 6 inches below the top of my water, 28 gallon. What are some friendly beginner corals that you'd recommend for me to try? They're to branch into non-softies. If you haven't done LPS, I would look at a lot of LPSs. Claire C3000. Nice, same one I got. Tons of nice ones, like Duncans. I mean, they're kind of like in the middle of softy, not softy, like Acans. All those ones are really awesome. There's like Bird's Nest and lots of Porcellopora. Those are all easier SPS. I used Reflux 3 times so far for Bropsis and Heraldry. No issues in the 200-gallon mixed Reef. Okay. W2 Reef with Reflux. Did you have bubology or did you notice a difference on it? Anacopra right now. I've always used a calcium reactor, so I can't say how great of a change will be. I like them a lot more in dosing pumps, as it's much more difficult to overdose. Once you get a calcium reactor dialed in, it is like super easy. You barely ever have to touch it. And I think running with the Alcatronic is monitoring. If it ever drifts, I'm like, oh, I got to change my pump by like a milliliter. So like super easy. So I'm kind of stoked for that setup because I think it's going to be extremely low maintenance. What's going on, Naked Reefer? Welcome. I'm getting texts as Derek watches my stream. Derek, you can come in the chat too, you know. That's texting questions, calling questions, chat questions. Okay, so what do you guys think? Can a tank be too clean? With filter rollers, turf scrubbers, skimming? Because I sometimes wonder, can you strip out too much food that you're not leaving much for the corals? I mean, you can always just feed more, but it's always a bit of a balancing act to an extent. I have 2 Acans, they're probably my favorite. They're new and have them about midway right now. Should I move higher? Acans are more low light corals, to be honest. When I eat on the stream. Hey, a random bag of ketchup chips showed up. I have not had ketchup chips in like 8 years, so no holding back. As long as it's not too loud and crunching. Yeah, Acans are definitely low light. I have probably 15 different Acans in my tank. I have them all in the sand bed, my little Acan garden. In fact, I sent somebody a picture the other day. I'll see if I still have it in my message history. Where is it? Hey.
Hey, Devin, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing, man?
Not too bad. I got a voice.
Excellent. Well, it's good to hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
So we got K-Town Reefer on the stream. How are the tanks doing, buddy?
They're doing good.
Yeah? Anything new and exciting in your tank world?
No. I got a lot of copepods now, though.
That's promising.
So, yeah, because my source dried up, so I had to just breed them myself in my own tank.
If it makes you feel any better, I just spent a small fortune on copepods to replenish and get my cultures rolling again.
Did you? Yeah. Good.
They were highly neglected when I was at Macna and out of town, so they kind of faded on me.
Yeah.
Is there a link? There sure is. There you go.
Just scroll up while you drop them.
Just repasted it. Yes, tank can be too clean with equipment used today. I kind of think that. Oh, very nice. Tanks are looking pretty happy. Got a lot of NEMs in there.
They're kind of blue right now, but yeah.
Yes. You need one of those little cell phone filters.
Yeah, I have one here actually.
Yeah?
Here, let's try this. See if it works.
Which one do you have?
Oh, it's not one of those. It's just
Safety
just like a
glasses?
film. Like
Okay.
no, it's a film. Like a yeah. I don't know if that's
Oh, way
yeah. I
better.
guess that's
Yeah, you can
better.
actually see the detail now.
Yeah.
What's happening, Anthony?
Not much, man.
Good to see a
Just
stranger.
yeah, just edited.
Attaboy. Tank's looking good, K-Town. Be kind of cool to do just a straight up NEM tank one day.
Sorry.
No worries. Long lost infamous aquatics in the house.
You guys are going.
Capable of stripping a tank nowadays. I kind of think that too, to be honest. I think people don't stock enough. That or way too much. Yeah, it's hard to find that happy balance. Only bubble algae halves top the return line. Foxface eats it. Worth a shot of fluke for it, though. Yeah, if fluconazole does not cause any negative impacts, then yes. Then I'll try it. I actually have somebody sending me some, so we'll try it pretty soon. Do you just click the link? Yes. If you're on the computer, it should work. If you're on your cell phone, you probably need the Google Hangouts app installed. As long as you have a Google account, it should work for you, Casey. Okay, as you're saying, they say they don't replenish trace elements only found in the tissue rather than the skeleton. So, one of the arguments for calcium reactor is that they do give a lot more trace elements, since you're essentially dissolving a coral skeleton. But for stuff in the tissue, it's more algae, like the zooxyl and the different algae in the tissue. Happy medium is the hard part. This is true. Very, very true. You still got your little tank up and running, Anthony?
Yeah, man. Tank is up and running. Think I'm gonna do a live stream tomorrow.
You should. I have not seen the little reef in a while.
Catch everyone up. Yeah, man.
You are overdue.
It's looked better.
Yeah?
It's looked better, but still.
That happens.
Minor setback, major comeback, man. That's all it is.
Attaboy. To be honest, my tank has faded a little bit lately as well.
Yeah.
Because I've been ignoring it because I know I have this tank upgrade coming, so it hasn't been as much love as it normally does.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned my lesson a little bit. I gotta not test it for extended periods of time.
You gotta keep stuff alive to move it over, though, don't you?
It's true. So, nice big rookie mistake on my part. So I had 2 corals RTN on me recently. And guess what I figured out the issue was? That I think I had my salinity was way lower than it should be.
Really?
I know, and I should know better, and I should test salinity once in a while. So that's kind of a lesson to me to not slack and check the basics once in a while.
But you have that quick and easy
Sure do.
salinity tester.
And I haven't touched it since I did the video. I use it for water changes, but I haven't checked the tank.
Yeah.
When I'm mixing salt, I always use it, but so
what were you at?
1.023.
2.3. Oh wow.
Uh-huh.
No, better than the other way, I guess. But
And I think that's why I had some issues and lost a couple corals.
yeah.
So that sucked. But I got up to 1.025 now. Then tomorrow I'll probably do another couple mini water changes and get back up to 1.026.
Yeah. I had gone the other way up to, it was at 2.8.
See, most corals can handle a bit higher, but they don't like lower. Fish are fine on lower.
Okay. Yeah.
Another good thing too, if you guys are ever adjusting your salt or your tank, don't do more than a 0.2 adjustment in a day, because that can cause some damage to corals. Like fish can handle a drop more than they can handle raising too quickly.
Okay.
Calibrate those conductivity probes. That does make a difference. I haven't calibrated mine. I calibrated yesterday when I was checking, but it was still right on point, so that was good. If you have a refractor... Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Not too much. How you doing, Casey?
Pretty good.
Excellent. Tank's looking active and happy.
Yeah, got the Paul Lab lens yesterday.
That thing works awesome. I have tried. I got one actually right in front of me. I have tried like a couple different brands, and so far that one's like the best colorations of all those I've tried. So,
Oh, I know. It's so much better focus now.
yep, yeah. Big shout out to Paul Plow. They did a good job on picking the colors on the lenses. The other ones I used were like far too orange or yellow. Like they just changed the colors too much.
Oh, I know. It's got such a different focus on the A-cams now. I've noticed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
And mushrooms. Oh my god.
they look awesome. Oh, Tank's looking very happy. How much salt do you think protein skimmers take out on average? What about general evaporation? Okay, so evaporation does not take out salt. Salt stays in the tank. You only lose fresh water. So that's why when your auto top off, you only use ODI water, right? Because you're only replacing the fresh water that evaporated. Protein skimmers will take out some salt. I do a very dry skim, so it's minimal. If you do a very wet skim, then you might be taking a lot more. So it's something to consider, mainly for a lot of people that some people just don't like water changes or they never do them. Especially in those situations, you got to keep more of an eye on your salinity because it will slowly shift over time from skimming and everything else. You have an Aussie Gold torch. I want one of those now. It looks awesome.
Oh, dude, I know. I love this thing. And I just put this in enemy here today.
Oh, nice. What kind is it?
You know what? It was considered a rose bubble. It's all white and got orange tips. So maybe
It might be bleached if it's all white, so maybe keep that guy lower down. Make sure he's not getting too much light. Yeah, usually if they're white or like hyper colors, it usually means they're partially bleached.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Mostly I got the frog smile going on, but this guy's like sticking out right now.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Nice. Hi from India. How's it going there? Hassan Max, if I'm saying that right. Welcome. Oh, that's nice
I noticed
squirrels.
I noticed one of my local reefers is selling a couple of bubble tips.
I may know the guy.
He just doesn't want them anymore? Or?
His one turned into 2, and the next day it turned into 3. And it's kind of taken over my rock.
Gotcha.
And my clowns don't host them. They host my little Kenya tree on the opposite side of the tank. They've never even looked at the bubble tips. I'm like... So, I honestly... I might sell all 3, to be honest. So, if you know anyone that needs a bubble tip...
Rocks? Well,
Hi?
I have a bunch. I
know.
have a bunch already.
You do.
I want some of your rock... I was hoping you were selling rock flowers.
Eventually. My goal is to try and get them. Yeah, that's the big thing. I want to get them to breed. I honestly, at some point, I'm probably going to add another 10 more to the nano. I might just turn to a rock flower tank eventually.
Yeah.
I did lose a couple SPS in the recent thing from RTNing, probably from my giant swing, which was terrible on my part. So I do have a couple frags of like the blue stick one that I lost, a couple other ones in my nano, so I'll probably steal those back out and put it in the new tank once I get it set up.
Yeah.
So I'm seriously thinking turning the nano to just a rock flower tank, so I think that would be pretty sweet. You will take a bubble tip. Jake, are you in British Columbia? If you're in the States, can I help you? Actually, technically you can sell, I could ship it, but it's just a pain with paperwork. I had someone message me the other day after watching my video on importing corals to Canada that deals with importing like all the time. Great conversation. Learned a ton of all like the technical details and around it.
And it's doable?
Okay. So Than might find this interesting. I might see if I can rope them into a stream one day. So basically, my general idea was right. If it is what's going on, Aussie Dan? If you are bringing in something that's not on the CITES list for personal use, not for resale, that is fine. You can physically bring it back yourself. However, if you ship it, there's some fishing games, paperwork, and other stuff that you need to fill out. In Canada, that is free, but there's a certain lead time. The person in the States, I think it's $100 for them to fill it out.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so there's an expense there. No, oh no, sorry, that's for stuff I think that might have been even for shipping certain things. Now, me and you live close enough to the border where if you're doing a decent sized order, it's almost as worth the hour and a bit drive to go pick it up.
True.
So, if you're shipping it, there is some paperwork that needs to be done with it. If you're physically bringing it back yourself, not for resale, for personal use, that is fine as long as it's not on the CITES list. You can apply to bring stuff back on the CITES list, but it's like a couple $100 for that permit, and it takes and it's like 90 days in advance or something. Like, it's a big pain. It's really, and there's fees, everything else, right? So it's really not worth it unless you're doing like a big order. It's not really worth it for one-offs.
Yeah.
But for stuff like rock flowers, which for whatever reason are overly priced in Canada and super cheap in the States, it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I might just buy like 10 or 15 and go pick them up one day.
Yeah, I was looking at Canada corals are like $130, $140 for the nicer ones.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Plain Jane ones are $79.
exactly. In the States, they're like $20
Yeah,
for like a plain Jane one.
crazy.
Mm-hmm. How do Japanese differ in their techniques? What techniques are we talking about? Find it interesting the difference sometimes you see across the world keeping corals techniques. Japan is my newest obsession. I don't know. That's a good question. We should find some Japanese reef keepers to get on the stream. I'm curious to see is there anything different? Like, there probably is. Like, little things, but we learn so much from you guys. Thank you, man. I don't know. I'm always interested to see different things. That's one of the reasons I love getting other reefers and guests on, too, is because there's so many ways to do the same thing, right? There's 100 different ways we can accomplish the exact same thing, and, all of them probably work in different scenarios, so I find it cool to hear all the different perspectives and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to find some good. Is there anyone that you guys want to see on for, like, future guests on the stream?
Get Than on.
We should get Than on. Than, want to come on and stream sometime soon? Are you in, Than? Than, I do say, your camera and your live streams, beautiful, man. They're so crispy, so much detail. I love it. So much coral eye candy. It's basically teasing for me in Canada because I was like, I want it, can't get it. But
Exactly.
yeah, I learned a ton
Story
of
our
just.
lives.
Yeah, I know. But even a ton of it, I just learned the names of corals because like half of them, like I know the general name, but I don't know like the specifics. So they're very educational. So even if you guys aren't in the States, definitely check out Tyler and his streams. They're always good. Typical attention to their escape and color catches my eyes. Recently came across a tank. 75% of the population as a blue damselfish for the uniformity, more natural. That's true. It is kind of neat to just see a species tank where you have a shoal of like the same fish going around. It does look pretty cool. Another thing too with even escaping with corals too, like if you know the pattern of corals and how it's going to grow, how it's going to table out, and you kind of plan that to your escape, you get some really cool long-term kind of stuff. Always learning is true. Every day you're learning something new. Never stop learning in this hobby. Did I show you my newest toy, K-Town?
No.
I got a really sweet par meter.
Oh.
I know. So, lots of some cool lighting ideas I've had on the side burner for a while that I'm actually going to dig into now.
And are you doing a tour with it?
Maybe. I'm sure we can figure out something.
Yeah, let's see what these D-Sunnies put out.
Yeah, exactly. I used to have D-Sunnies back in the day, actually.
Did you?
Yep.
Yeah.
I used to have a 30-gallon Nano Reef, and I had those for a while. I had those before the Radions.
Okay.
Kayvon thought about going for schooling fish with only a single trophy fish. If you have a big enough tank, you could actually get them to school. And usually your quote-unquote trophy fish is somewhat not really a predator, but someone it will make them school more because they feel safer in a group. But you only really see that behavior in a large tank. But if you have a big enough tank, I think it'd look really cool. A weird time for a stream. Yes, this is like a complete random bonus surprise stream because a couple of people asked really nicely during my miniature Instagram stream. / random Q&A.
Yeah, I was working and then I got the notification on my phone. I'm like, what? Devin?
You're like, what? It's Wednesday? What?
Yeah, I'm like, wait, whoa.
Whoa, it's not Wednesday.
And I wish it was, but
I know, right? We be halfway to the weekend already.
exactly.
They also favor more cayenne blue more than deep royal blue. That's in the West. Maybe it's just me. I still have some cool. Depending on your lighting, you can, like, some of the fancier lights, you can tune the different blues too. Like, at least I know in the Radions, you have your lighter and your darker blues, so you can play with it. The one kind of thing that, I don't know, I kind of want to play with is just seeing the different parts with different lighting things and figuring out.
What meter did you get?
Oh, an Apogee one.
Apogee, okay.
Yeah, this is like the Primo.
Yep.
This is the Q510. And the cool thing about this one is it's actually made for LEDs and blue LEDs. And for underwater, it's pre-calibrated for underwater. So it's basically made for saltwater tanks. Unlike some of the other meters where you got to like convert it and apply a correction factor and whatnot. So this one is designed for LED lights, pretty more or less, and saltwater. So it's pretty sweet.
Plug and play.
Yep.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm super stoked for it. I only just dabbled with it a little bit in my tank. But
Okay,
once I get the new one rolling, it'll be some good in-depth stuff on it.
Does it have a wand that, or do you have to make something up?
Oh, I got a one too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's like a 3-part wand, so you can put it in pretty deep.
Perfect.
Makes it nice and easy. Screws together. Waterproof, saltwater resistant, and you can probe it around the tank. So yeah, super cool. Yeah, so very stoked. So many good ideas for this part meter.
You had a par meter before this, didn't you?
It wasn't mine. It was another
okay.
reefer's. It was his Senai. I just borrowed off him all the time.
Okay.
It was before I had the real deal par meter. So I'm like, yes, stoked. Super stoked for it. Curious to see what you're planning to use. Kyle, welcome to the Calcium Reactor Club. Kyle is another local reefer, and he is getting my old calcium reactor. So he already has CO2, so you're pretty much ready to roll already. You already got a regulator from your planted tanks. Makes a nice, easy transition. Bubble Magnus CR120, and I have a valve coming from my return pump. They're feeding it off the return pump. It's got the nice anemones flowing in the background. Soon. I still use my BTM 300 and laptop. BTM 300. I have no idea what that is. I'm going to have to Google that quickly. Oh, BTM. Okay, I know what part meter that is. Yeah, that works. Biotech Marine. Nice. Hey, at least you have one. Most people don't have a par meter. If you guys have never tested your lights, and you have a local reefer, someone in a reef club, someone with a par meter, it's worth doing just to get it tuned in. You'll have an idea. I don't know if I go to this extreme, but if you went somewhere and bought a coral, I mean, if you're hardcore enough, you actually bring your meter in there, you know exactly what it's getting for light now. You can figure out if you even have to acclimate or not. So that's cool stuff. Did you take a picture with a calcium solution? I did. No, I don't think I did, Kyle. I'll take a look in a bit. I gave Kyle a bunch of bulk calcium and alkalinity solution.
You still have your Kalkwasser?
Yeah? Do you need some?
No.
I gave away a giant bag of it, but I still have more. There used to be a place called Oceanic Reefs, and I bought like a big 5-pound box off them. What's going on, Chip the Reefer? I use my Senai. Senai is probably the most affordable par meter you can buy. And if you're starting a new tank, that ammonia monitor and all that stuff is pretty useful for cycling or starting a brand new tank. And after that, you got a par meter. They're coming with a new one too that does crystal clear now. Perfect. I know, Dave. I know it's Monday, or is it Wednesday?
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
Jim.
Senai is coming out with a new par meter Senai thing that does alkalinity too. So I don't know when that's coming out, but that'll be kind of cool. That'll be a pretty useful thing for a lot of people. I have a friend that has one. He lives a street away. Oh, you're super close. You're good to go.
Best power meter by far is someone else's.
That's the cheapest one to get used by far.
Exactly.
Bribe him over with a couple beers and get your tank test.
Exactly.
Yep.
Or paralyzers.
Yeah, those were good actually. I'll do that again one
Yeah.
day. Chimp the Reef. What's up, K-Town? I recognize that Nem tank.
Yeah.
Yep. It's looking good, man. Clowns look happy. They have, it's like a clown hotel. They got options. They just go from Nem to Nem.
Oh, they do. They jump around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got to throw some more rock in there. I still got work to do in that one. But
Yeah. You were after rock? You were asking about my rock earlier.
yeah, I need rock.
I might. So I've been back and forth on, do I redo my whole scape and get all new rock, or do I keep part of it? And I think I've rationed that I should not spend a bunch of money on rock right now. So I think I'm going to keep my main structure, and I think I'm going to change this 2 smaller right ones. So I'll probably keep about half of it, and might add or change a few pieces. So I don't know. I may have a few rocks with some coral
Yeah,
in
let
it
me
soon.
know.
Okay. So someone is asking what causes RTN. So RTN, no one really knows for sure. I've never seen a legit 100% answer on it. However, it's generally caused by some sort of stress. People's kids, right? What else we got? Sadly, there's always a few of them out there, right? Nothing better to do. Ah, well. RTN, I don't know. Do you guys got anything else you think with RTN? Anyone favor gobies and sand sifting fish and inverts to manage their sand beds rather than vacuuming? Yes. Sand sifting stars are awesome. They go a huge way to keeping it clean. I have one of mine. One of the best cleaners is probably a sea cucumber. Those guys work really well. Pistol shrimps, they definitely can. I had a tiger pistol shrimp before, and he would like literally create crazy sand dunes. Like he'd start up the sand like crazy. There's also stroma snails, those guys with little snorkels that go through the sand bed. Like there's all kinds of different ones that could work. Let me just quickly connect back with K-Town. I think, love my conch. Oh, conches are awesome, honestly. Orange lip conches are great cleaners if you guys don't have them. They're like secret cleaners because no one ever mentions them very often, but they do a fabulous job. Pistol shouldn't do a good job. Yep, spaghetti worms, those guys are pretty good. Slant conch. RTN hurts, just a frag, spread or pay. If you guys do have RTN, it usually goes pretty quick. If you have STN, that buys you a little more time. And that can, you can frag it from there. Hey, get down.
Hey.
Welcome back. There we go. Workaround. I think I might try doing, make like a Facebook group, except there we go. Make like a Facebook hangout for streams or something, or a couple different options so I can have more control on it. But we'll see.
You're too popular to leave hangouts up, I guess. Links up.
I've never had an issue before until now. Apparently I fit that line. Guess I finally made it on YouTube.
I guess.
How soon can you add a brittle star after cycling the tank? Once you get through the main cycle. Wait till your ammonia or nitrates is all gone. A bit of nitrates is okay for most things as long as it's not crazy high, but wait till your nitrates, ammonia and nitrate, go away. And after that, you're getting pretty safe. Any thoughts on cleaner clams that are at the grocery store? So most of the ones you see at the grocery store are cold water, and they will not last long in hot water. I actually had a buddy. He had manila clams that he was getting, and he was using them to feed his copper band butterfly, which wasn't really eating much. He's been super picky. And he had a few of them he put in were actually still alive, which is kind of crazy. What's going on, TMG? So they're actually still alive in his tank, and they actually lived in there for a few weeks. They eventually faded and bit the dust, and I think that's because it was just the warmer weather. So it's kind of cool though. But like clams are awesome filters. Like you could have a sump full of clams and be crazy filters. But grocery stores mainly cold water, so they're not going to last long in a hot tropical tank. TMG in the house.
Can you buy just the warm water one somewhere? Or?
I don't think we can around here. I mean, you might be able to, but so I don't know. I mean, could live, but you never know.
Yeah.
I was just amazed that a middle clam lived in his tank for a couple months. It's kind of cool. They did. They sell them at my store. Yeah, I mean, you guys that live on like the tropical area, like Florida, those places. I mean, half the stuff you get in there are gonna be from warm water. It probably would work in your cases. But filter feeding stuff are like wicked filters. Like you could probably have a sump just full of clams and your water be crystal clear. I have a pair of Dale. I have a pair of 2 clowns, and neither of them want to host my anemone. I have currently 3 bubble tips in my tank, and my clowns host a canyon tree. Some people will add Mark Camila's Reef. I know he did a video way back when where he put all his clownfish in through a tube. So they literally the first thing they saw in the tank was the anemone, and that was kind of like, here it is, stay here, it's safe, host it, right? I've seen people. So apparently they put like a picture of clowns and anemone or an iPad with it on there, but tying them in basically like, here, watch the video. This is what you're supposed to do. Some people claim it worked. Never tried that one. But it's literally, I've seen other people put the nem and the clown in an acclimation box together and wait till they kind of link up and then release them to the tank. So I've seen a few different strategies. I just haven't bothered. I mean, they love the little canyon tree, whatever. They can have it. So
I started mine off in 13 and a half Evo.
Mm-hmm.
And they had no choice because there was not enough room to get away from them, really. I had 2 of them in there, and they took a day, and they were...
No, that's not bad. Mine have been in the tank 2 years. They've never hosted it. So
once they do, they're cooked.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I could never get mine to do it. So, oh well. Not that I tried. I just let them have it because they seem to like it. It makes me laugh because they'll like sleep in between the branches at night and stuff. It really is kind of hilarious.
Yeah. They have the perfect bed at home and they decide to sleep somewhere else, right?
Yep. It's like a hammock. Like the big one's lazy. Literally just lays between the branches at night. I'll take a picture and throw it on Instagram later if I catch them when it's bright enough to still see it, but it cracks me up all the time. My clown's getting beat up the first time of them posted anything. But clowns will literally host anything. Like they'll host like frog spawn I've had, hammers. Like they'll just pick some softy and they're like, oh, this is the one I like.
Overflow. And they don't care.
Yeah. They'll claim it as their home. Then if you got a pair, watch out and start mating them. They get aggressive. They'll nip at you if you're around their area. What's going on, Mo? Bandit? Clayton?
The only 2 fish that nip at me is my bicolor blenny and my lawnmower blenny.
Oh, your blennies do, eh?
My blennies do. Yeah, well, he's got the bicolor's got a barnacle.
Oh, yeah?
So I get anywhere near that barnacle and he pops right out of it and bites at me. Yeah.
I've only been nipped once by my clowns, and that was when they do. Yeah, I was just moving the Kenya tree, or I tried to frag a branch off or something, and they were not happy about it.
Yeah.
What's going on there, Yvonne? Welcome. They always hang out at the top of the tank, and they just won't host. Yeah, as long as they're active. I mean, to be honest, I hardly ever see my clowns half time because they do just hide out in the back corner in their little Kenya tree. So it'll be interesting to see when I mix it up. I'm selling my 2 tangs, my yellow tang and my hippo tang. And I bought, actually, you know Jordan, I think.
Yeah.
He was at our meetup. So I bought Jordan's blue and yellow tang off him. So I'm going to sell mine and then just put in, because they're probably like 2/3 of the size, so just smaller versions to the new tank.
Yeah.
So Dale's asking, what's everyone's opinion on aquapower and fuel? I like aminos. I dose them, like just a small amount. I dose a couple mils a day in my tank. If you dose too much aminos, some people I've heard say you get cyano and different things, but small amounts, a lot of people say it's good, beneficial, potentially better for polyp extension, different things. I used to dose them. I quit for a long time. I started dosing them again, but yeah, overall I think they're useful. They're a basic building block for many things in life, amino acids, so it's good to do. I use plastic wrap of a Jenga set into my mag. Work someone threw it in, siphon out the head of my gravel cleaner. What? I have no idea what's going on there. I don't know.
I use plastic wrap of a Jenga set into my mag.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The square tower
Yeah.
thing. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Okay, you coast him into the corner. You're like, get on there. Love each other. Forced love. You're like arranged marriage with your anemone. Use both, they're both good. Honestly, they're probably similar. There's probably like little proprietary differences, but either way, they're amino acids. I mean, technically, you could probably even get free amino acids from like your Cheeto that breaks down. Like amino acids just are good in general. You'll naturally have some if you have a decent sized refugium. Like on the bottom that dies off, like that will even release some aminos back into the tank and different things. You are most welcome, Dale.
How big's your yellow tank? One of your so can't remember.
He's not bad size. He's not crazy. My hippo tank's on the bigger side. I'm gonna say he's like 5 to 6 inches, maybe.
Yeah, big as mine. So the yellow one's probably the same size as mine too. It's probably what, like 4?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 4 to 5. Kind of depends. Like when he
Yeah.
flares out the fins, he looks bigger. But
Yeah.
do you have a good recipe for your own frozen food? Here in Brazil, we can only buy pellets and flakes. I haven't actually made frozen food. I have seen a lot of people that do it, and they literally just go to like a seafood store and buy a bunch of fresh seafood, like scallops, clams, whatever you want, a bunch of softer stuff, throw it in a blender, and throw it in little packages. Literally just any seafood that's fresh, right? Just mix them all together. I really don't have space for a quarantine tank. Okay, if you are not quarantining your fish, so you're ordering from Live Aquaria. If you do not have any fish in your tank, you don't really have anyone for them to affect because they're your first fish. If you do have fish in the tank, then it's a little bit riskier. Where I am, I've never ordered from Live Aquaria. Generally, I like to buy fish in person because I can see them, I can inspect them, I can make sure they look good. If sometimes too, if you have a local store at least, you can go check out a fish and get them to hold them for you for a couple weeks to make sure it's all good. So that's kind of a couple things. But like if you're inspecting them, like make sure they have spots in them, make sure their eyes aren't cloudy, make sure there's not lesions or scratches or certain stuff on them. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to make sure they look healthy and minimize it without quarantining them. Ideally, buy from somewhere that does pre-quarantine other fish before they sell them. Okay, you have no fish, so you're pretty low risk because you have nothing that they could really bring into the tank. I mean, they could, but they're not really going to affect your other fish, so you're pretty low risk for your very first fish. And if it did have something, you could just literally ride it out in the tank.
No, he says no. I have fish. I think he has fish.
Oh, you have fish.
Yeah.
Okay. First time ordering online.
Yeah, okay.
There's always a risk for it, right? If you don't quarantine.
Here's a question: do you quarantine?
I
I've
do.
never seen any videos on it or anything. So.
That's right. That is because I do not have a quarantine tank. No.
Yeah, okay.
I recommend people should quarantine. However, I do not have a tank. I try and buy it from places that I know have pre-quarantined it, or make sure, or get them to hold a fish for a while. But I also will sit there and watch it for 20 or 30 minutes half the time and make sure it looks healthy and make sure there's no signs of any illness or parasites before I buy it. So
I think we buy from the same place.
Probably.
Locally.
Yeah, we have the same couple places here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very cautious. If I see any sick fish or I see anything else in the tank, I just won't buy anything then. So yeah, I prefer to see them in person. I've only ordered fish online or had someone pick it up once or twice, but for the most part, I'd like to see them first just to be safe. Feeding like crazy because my nitrates are almost 0. Nitrates are 3 ppm. That's still super low. I believe that's why my corals are dying. Okay, so if your nitrates are super low, yes, that you never want it 0. You always want to have some nitrates, phosphates. If it's 0, you're stripping food. You're going to strip the algae and stuff off of your corals. So feeding more is obviously the easiest way. Like, I mean, there's like powder foods like the Reef, Roys, all that type of stuff, which will boost it up a little bit. There's lots of particles in the water. Same if you're feeding your fish, give your fish a couple extra feedings a day. Like Worldwide Corals feeds their tank hourly, but they also have a ton of fish in there, a ton of mouths to feed, ton of energy being used up. So I mean, you got to find that balance. But if your nitrates are super low, if you have a refugium, maybe like have the light on last hours. If you're using GFO, tone that down. Like it really depends what all you're doing in your tank, but add more nutrients and export a little less. Corals dying, yes. If you, in my early days, I learned that lesson using too much GFO and started killing off some of my corals because I was stripping out zero phosphates. It's literally sucking out the zooxyl and some of the stuff on the corals. So zero of anything is bad. You always want some stuff in there. Yeah.
I crashed my tank running GFO.
Yeah, I never crashed it, but I did lose a few corals before I knew better when I first started reefing. Do you ever order online? I've ordered corals online. I generally avoid ordering fish online, though. Yeah, and don't even chase numbers. Like, don't chase pH. That's usually trouble. But generally, the biggest thing for corals to be happy is stability. So pick a number for calcium, alkalinity, magnesium. Stick there as much as possible. Phosphate nitrates, if it goes a little bit, I don't know. I personally don't worry about it because corals are nice and colorful. I've never had an issue. As long as your tank's not overrun with algae, who cares? What size kind feeding Anthias will require a different frequency and the size of bacillus tanks? Okay. Anthias have little tiny stomachs. They don't really store food. They need multiple little feedings. Definitely recommend an auto feeder with some small pellets. If you have Anthias, let it drop food in a few times a day. Tangs, I feed a mixture of like veggies, so I feed nori, sushi nori. So the little half sheets that you can buy for sushi rolls, I throw one of those in my tank every single day, and every single night I feed frozen food. Hey, Casey Reefs, welcome to the channel if you're in the chat. So every night I feed frozen food, and every morning I throw in a half sheet of nori in my tank. Most expensive fish and how much that I have or that I've ever bought. My most expensive fish per inch would have to be the flaming prong goby. That guy was crazy expensive and like that big. He's very elusive. Current most expensive fish, probably my big powder blue right now that I have in my tank. I got lots of other like wrasses and different stuff, but none of them are crazy. I don't know. What's the big powder blue go for?
Like the size of ours.
Mm-hmm.
They're well, probably $120 or something like that.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably my most expensive one. Beautiful fish though.
Yeah.
He's just so like plump and big, fat, healthy guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Currently have 3 clowns, hippo, yellow tang, flame angel, bicolor, orchid dottyback, Milner's wrasse, and I want a balanced dive for all. So same thing. Add in some nori for the tangs on all that other stuff, and feed frozen other stuff like what else do you have? Flame angel, bicolor, blending orchid. Yeah, pretty much all of them will eat frozen, and a good chunk of them would eat the sea veggies, nori as well. So I do a mix of those two. Are you running elk and calcium numbers? Make a problem with no nitrates worse. Okay. If you have high alkalinity, high lighting, all that stuff, you also need higher nitrates. If it's because you need that extra nutrients and energy to support the higher lighting in your tank. So it's something to keep in mind. So if you want to run really high alkalinity, it usually goes with higher lighting and also goes with more nutrients. So yeah, really good point there from Clayton. So I like to keep it in the middle. This seems like a safer range. Like right now, mine's around 9.5, but normally 8.5 is where I like to keep it, just because it gives you buffer on either side of it. Main display is 330, 11 feet wide. Nice. That'd be sweet. I'd love a 11-foot tank. In general that I've gotten, yeah, probably powder blue, which is like a big fish, or that little tiny flaming prong goby, would be the most expensive fish I've had. Any of you guys macroalgae other than Chaeto? I've got some uva. Try that stuff. I had some form of a clerpa. It's my sump right now. It's not like the big grape stuff, but it's just like little leafy stuff. Just little bits of it. It glows and I rip it out once in a while. It's in my frag area. It takes a lot of nutrients actually, so it works well. Most successful one was a harem of Red Sea Regals. Nice. Most expensive fish I've ever had with a bandit angelfish. Ah, very cool. Those are the guys with the big strip on them, I think. Evil thing that I hosted for a friend while I was moving. Do you really need to do a water change every week on a 24-gallon? Have a refugium. Okay, if you're doing a water change, you're doing it to either replace stuff, like some of your calcium milk trace elements, or you're doing it to remove something, which could be elevated phosphate nitrates, whatnot. If those levels are in check, you can probably get away with not doing water changes frequently. Same thing, like if you have a skimmer, you can probably get away with less. So you really got to test to know if you need to add or take away something from the tank. Now, in a nano tank, I mean, a 5-gallon water change a week goes a long way to keeping your tank preventing any issues, right? Because nothing's really going to build up or anything from that one bucket of water change a week. So it is a pretty good safety factor if you do get in that habit. But again, unless you test, you're not going to know 100% for sure if you need to do it. But it definitely never hurts to do it. Yeah, no worry for the tanks, big thing. And I mean, you could buy the fish store brands or go to like an Asian supermarket or something and just get a big pack of sushi nori. Just make sure it's like all natural, not roasted or flavored or any of that type of stuff, and you'll be good.
Way cheaper.
Way cheaper. I think I paid like $25 for like 200 sheets or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I even fed 2 of them the other day. They devoured it pretty quick.
Yep.
Yep. Some days they get 2 sheets, so I feel extra nice. Do I do this live chat every Monday? No, not usually. Today's random. I do it every Wednesday, though. Wednesday is my normal live stream day. Today was just like random bonus stream. I usually pick a topic for the Wednesday streams, where today was just like, hang out for the heck. On that note, I am slowly getting starving, so I may not go too much longer. It's getting to be dinner time soon.
My supper's almost done too, I think.
Yeah, got those buns?
Yeah.
Nice. Do I feed my anemone even if I have copepods? Okay, I don't know if the anemone will ever actually eat copepods. You should feed it once in a while. I generally broadcast feed my tank frozen mysis, and the anemones will grab that.
That's what I feed mine too.
Yep. If you have clowns that are hosting it, there's a good chance they might even share some of their food with the nem, because they like to feed it and keep their home happy. So that's one kind of cool thing to see if you got clowns. So you don't necessarily have to feed it directly, but if you broadcast feed your tank, it's going to grab in some of those particles. Okay, so I've seen a lot of skimmers on YouTube with thick, dark sludge. My skimmer is mostly water. I've been trying to get it tuned in with no luck. What is the trick? Okay, so if your is very green tea-like, it's a very watery skim. So you want to do a drier skim. So if you can reduce the water level in the skimmer, in the neck, there will be like a bubble line. If you can change the output of the flow, open it up a little bit more, and it's going to cause that level to drop lower. And that's going to make the bubbles have to work harder to get into the cup. So you can get less water and more of the gunk in there. So it's literally just usually playing with the output and then the little air valve on it. Just try tweaking those a little bit and see if you can get it to the bubble line lower so it works harder and gets it in there. I directly feed my bubble tip. Yeah, I mean, you could directly feed them too. I do once in a while. I do maybe once a week. I'll give them a shot directly. The rest of the time I let them just pull a few of my random broadcast feedings. Clown is hosting in many. Should I still feed the anemone? Yeah, it doesn't hurt. If the feeder thing that I use, Julian's thing, it's basically like a long tube with a syringe and a little finger thing on it. That thing's great because I can just like go towards corals and just do random shots around it. So I mean, that's a cool tool that I use. You can even just use a regular syringe or go to the dollar store and buy like a big turkey baster and just take off the metal needle on it. Same thing. But it's nice to be able to direct around and shoot it at certain corals. LRS food did the trick. I've never tried the LRS food. I'll try it one day. Yeah, so anemones may try to eat other fish. Some anemones will. Carpet anemones definitely will. Those guys can eat fish. They're very sticky too. I'm removing one from my tank one time. It's like whoosh, onto your fingers. Are seahorses really hard to keep? They're not hard, but they're demanding. Most people, if you get the bigger ones, a lot of them, if you get one that's eating mysis, the big thing with seahorses is they have really tiny bellies. So they need to be fed multiple times per day. So if you are home a lot or you have easy access to your tank to feed it multiple times a day, you're okay. But you can't just feed it once a day like regular fish, right? They need lots of little feedings because those tiny bellies. Dwarf seahorses, even more so. Like you gotta have pods or brine shrimp multiple times a day. They're definitely harder. I'd love to try dwarf one days. The big ones you can get away with mysis, but again, just make sure a couple times a day you can feed them. There is another girl called Seahorse Whisperer that has a YouTube channel, and she digs into tons of stuff on them. So she's a great one if you want to know anything specific on how to keep them. Thanks for answering my question, guys. You're most welcome. Other foods offered on service. When I was only feeding my bubble tea weekly, it would keep eating my fish. Whew,
Really? Oh,
nasty. I don't think my bubble tips have ever eaten any fish that I've noticed, but you never know. I know sea bay anemones can. Those are more sand ones. I know carpets can. I'm sure bubble tips can. Generally, if a fish is healthy, it's not necessarily going to get eaten, but if a fish is sick and weak, it's more likely to potentially get eaten. Brenzy Jake, thank you, subscribed. All right, Benzie, welcome. Yeah, definitely check her out though. She'll have some good information for you if you want to get into that. So you put a floating circle to trap the food, otherwise the wavemaker will blow it down the drain. So normally too, I shut off my return pump. I leave some flow in the tank. I turn it down a bit, but then there's still, it blows the food around, but it's not getting sucked down the drain. So I like to leave mine off for about 30 minutes or so, just to let corals and different things catch it before it potentially gets flushed down to overflow. Why are Anthias hard to keep alive? I tried 3 times, never survived. I give up on them. If you have Anthias, they're like seahorses. They need multiple feedings per day. So definitely got an auto feeder if you have Anthias. Same thing. They don't really have big stomachs, little tiny bellies, and they go through it really quick. They're super active fish, so you need lots of little tiny meals throughout the day. So tiny pellets, auto feeder, feed it like 3 times a day. And that goes a long way for Anthias. Alright, guys, hopefully answer all the questions. Any last minute questions, shoot. But otherwise, my belly's rumbling, and I think I'm gonna go make some food. Either hold the sink, clam, half shell, for example, gel paste, mastic. A lot of people like mastic. I haven't tried that one either, but that's like kind of like a mushy one you stick on the glass and stuff can pick at it. Another cool thing to try for picky ones is once in a while I do a manila clam. Like I got some fresh and threw them in the freezer. I'll just drop one in once in a while and all the fish will pick at it and the shrimp go crazy. It's kind of a little treat from once in a while. So it's good to mix it up. I mean, different things, get a little variety in the fish's diet. All right, kids. I'm starving. I'm gonna have some food.
all right, Devin. So am I.
Thanks for the completely random Monday light, pretending it's Wednesday live stream.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Cheers.
Bye.